64 years. That's how long it's been since any country won the World Cup, and then won it again. The defending champion always falls. Always. One of the players in this video is 38 years old. He has one summer left to break that curse. I'll get to him at the very end, so stick around, because what he's chasing might be the most remarkable thing left in this sport. Another player here just turned 18. Between those two numbers, 38 and 18, sits every star worth knowing at World Cup 2026. 15 of them. Where they came from, what makes them special, and what each one is actually chasing over the next 40 days. Some are just arriving, some are saying goodbye. Let's start with a striker whose country hasn't been here in 28 years, and who's never in his life watched them play. Erling Haaland, Norway. And if you only know him as the goal machine, you're missing the better story. Norway hasn't been to a World Cup since 1998. Haaland was born in the year 2000, so he had never, in his whole life, seen his own country at a World Cup. His father did. Alphonso Haaland played for Norway at USA '94. The son grew up on stories of a stage he was never allowed to walk onto. So this year, he dragged them there himself. In qualifying, Haaland scored 16 goals in 8 matches. 16. That's double the next best scorer in all of Europe, the highest qualifying tally of any player on any continent this entire cycle. Here's the cruel part. For all that, the draw handed Norway maybe the hardest group in the tournament: France, Senegal and Iraq. The most clinical striker on earth, finally at a World Cup, and the football gods put a wall in front of him on day one. But that wall has a name. And he might be the best of the lot. Kylian Mbappé, France. That wall. Remember the 2022 final? Argentina against France, the greatest final ever played. Mbappé scored a hat-trick in it. 3 goals in a World Cup final, the first man to do that since 1966, and he still lost. He was 23. He went home with the golden boot and an empty feeling that's haunted him for 4 years. Since then, he's only gotten scarier. He became the youngest player since Pelé to reach 400 career goals. And now the schedule has set up the duel of the group stage. France against Norway, Mbappé against Haaland, the finisher against the phenomenon on the same grass. Win the whole thing and the argument's over. He's the best player of his generation. Lose, and that empty feeling gets a little more permanent. Which brings us to the kid who might take the crown from both of them. And he can't legally drive in parts of the host country yet. Lamine Yamal, Spain, 18 years old. Yamal was born in July 2007. He turns 19 just 6 days before this World Cup final. Which means if Spain reach the semi-finals, he plays the biggest match of his life, still 18 years old. And he is not a project. He is already the best player on the reigning European champions. At Euro 2024, the day after his 17th birthday, he curled in a goal against France from 30 yards out, the youngest scorer in the history of the European Championship. This past season, 16 goals, 11 assists, as Barcelona won the league. 3 league titles, and he isn't 19. There was a fitness scare right before the tournament, so watch for whether he starts or comes off the bench. Either way, when this kid is on the pitch, he is the most dangerous teenager football has produced in a generation. So, an 18-year-old, a 26-year-old, and a striker with 16 qualifying goals. And we haven't even mentioned Messi or Ronaldo yet. They're coming, I promise. And the one player who might be more naturally gifted than any of them never played a single Premier League game in his life. Jude Bellingham. England. He was Birmingham's youngest ever player and youngest ever scorer at 16. He moved to Dortmund for a world record fee for a 17-year-old, then to Real Madrid. He skipped his own country's league entirely and went straight to world class. But here's the twist. England's manager, Thomas Tuchel, has openly admitted Bellingham faces a fight just to make the starting 11. The best attacking midfielder England has is not guaranteed a place, because this squad is that loaded. And England are going to need a miracle from the other side of the world to match what's waiting in Brazil. Raphinha. Brazil, and this one is a redemption story. A few years ago, Raphinha was at Leeds, scrapping to avoid relegation, and plenty of people wondered if his big move had already passed him by. Then he got to Barcelona, something snapped into place, and this past season he scored 34 goals and set up 25 more as the club won a treble. Afterthought to one of the best attackers in the world's best league. He said something most players would never admit out loud. He'd rather win the World Cup with Brazil than the Champions League with Barcelona. And here's why that matters. Brazil, 5-time champions, the most successful nation in history, haven't won this thing since 2002. That's 24 years. An entire generation of Brazilians has never seen it. And right now, their most in-form man is Raphinha. But he's not the most famous Brazilian on that team, not even close. Vinícius Júnior, Brazil, Real Madrid, the most electric and the most controversial player at this tournament. In 2024, he finished second in the Ballon d'Or, the award for the best player in the world. In a year, he won the Champions League. He believed he lost it because of something off the pitch. He had become the loudest voice against racism in Spanish football after being abused from the stands so many times it led to actual criminal convictions. Among the first cases of their kind in Spain, so Vinicius arrives carrying more than a ball. The pace, the trickery, a dance celebration that drives defenders insane, but no World Cup, and Brazil's whole tortured 24-year wait sitting on his shoulders and Raphinha's at the same time. Now, here's something that changes how you watch the rest of this. France against Norway, Mbappé against Haaland. Same group, one match, two of the best players alive, and only one walks away happy. That's the thing a list can't capture. These aren't 15 separate stories. They're about to collide, in groups, in the knockouts, on the same pitch. Every one of these players is one fixture away from ending another's summer. And that 64-year question I opened with? Still coming. The man chasing it is the last one I'll tell you about. For a reason, I'm breaking down every one of these collisions as the tournament unfolds. So hit subscribe now. Every clash, every upset, every goodbye as it happens. It's free, and it's about to get chaotic. Okay, back to the players who decided, starting with a man who spent 4 years carrying a moment most people would never recover from. Bukayo Saka, England. And to understand him, you have to go back to one penalty. Euro 2020 final, penalty shootout against Italy. England hand the deciding kick to a 19-year-old Saka. He misses. England lose. And then the internet does what the internet does. He's racially abused for days. Most teenagers never come back from that. Saka became England's most important creative player. Before he turned 24, he'd made 300 appearances for Arsenal, with 78 goals and 78 assists, exactly equal the perfect playmaker's record. Twice his country's Player of the Year. The kid who missed the most important kick of his life is now the man England can't play without. That's the arc, and he's surrounded by legends, including one chasing a number almost no one reaches. Harry Kane, England, the most reliable goalscorer of his era, and a man hunting a number only about a dozen humans have ever reached. Kane has scored 79 goals for England, more than Pelé scored for Brazil. He needs 21 more to hit 100 international goals, a club so exclusive that most all-time greats never get near it. For 10 years, people defined Kane by what he hadn't won. Then he moved to Bayern Munich and immediately won back-to-back league titles. So that story is over. But the one trophy that would make all the rest feel small, the World Cup, he's never even reached the final. He's 32. This is realistically his last real shot at it. Behind every great striker, though, is someone making him look good. Spain's version is almost invisible. And that's exactly the point. Pedri, Spain, the quietest superstar at this World Cup. Pedri doesn't score many. He doesn't sprint past people. What he does is make the ball disappear in one place and reappear somewhere impossible. His old coach literally nicknamed him Harry Potter. He was Barcelona's youngest ever scorer at 16. If Spain win this, and a lot of smart people think they will, it's because Pedri owns the middle of the pitch. He won the Euros at 20, add a World Cup at 23, and that's one of the great starts to a career the sport has seen. All right, we're close now. The 64-year question is almost here. But there's a tournament happening on home soil right now, and the host nation just made a statement. Christian Pulisic, USA, the face of the host nation, and as of this week, a man the whole country is suddenly watching. Pulisic is the best American men's player of his generation, and it isn't close. He was the first American ever to play in and win a Champions League final, and the highest-scoring American ever in Europe's top leagues. He captained his country at 20, and just days ago, in front of a home crowd, the USA opened their tournament with a statement win. Pulisic setting up the very first goal before coming off with a calf knock. He's expected back. That's the weight on him. A nation that mostly watches other sports is, for one summer, watching soccer. And watching him. The host's whole story runs through his legs, from a country still falling in love with the game, to a man who is a religion in his own, and he may be playing his final summer in the shirt that made him famous. Mohamed Salah, Egypt, one of the greatest the Premier League has ever seen. And this is goodbye on two fronts at once. Salah is leaving Liverpool this summer after 9 years and 191 league goals, the fourth most in Premier League history. And as of right now, he arrives at this World Cup just 2 goals away from becoming Egypt's all-time top scorer. 2 goals. Egypt's first big test is Belgium, and by the time you're watching, he may already have that record. Either way, he'd be breaking it on the biggest stage in sport. In the same summer, he closes the biggest chapter of his career. And get this, Egypt have never reached a World Cup quarter-final. Never. Salah might be the one player good enough to drag them there. Now, a warning. The next player might not kick a single ball at this tournament, and that is exactly why he matters. Neymar. Brazil. Because you can't tell this story without him. Neymar is Brazil's all-time leading scorer, more goals for his country than Pelé. For a decade, he was the most gifted footballer Brazil produced, and this, almost certainly, is his last World Cup. But here's the heartbreak. Years of injuries have worn him down, and he's carrying a calf problem right now. He's named in the squad, but expected to start this tournament watching from the bench. The most naturally talented player on the field might spend his farewell fighting just to get onto it. If he gets his moment, even 20 minutes of the old magic, it'll be one of the images of the summer. If he doesn't, it's the quietest goodbye in the whole tournament. Speaking of goodbyes that mean something, this next story is the best one at the entire World Cup, and almost nobody outside his country knows it. Alphonso Davies. Canada, if you remember one player from this video, make it him. Davies was born in a refugee camp. His parents fled the civil war in Liberia, and he came into the world in a camp in Ghana. No electricity, no clean water. A refugee program resettled the family in Canada when he was 5. At 16, he stood in a room in Vancouver and took his oath as a Canadian citizen. Picture what that meant. 8 years later, that same kid is the captain of Canada, one of the 3 host nations, playing a home World Cup in front of the country that took him in. In 2022, he scored Canada's first ever World Cup goal. Their entire previous appearance, back in 1986, they didn't score a single time. He missed Canada's opener with an injury, but he's pushing to return. And if he leads Canada to their first ever World Cup win, on home soil, a kid born in a refugee camp will have written one of the great stories this sport has ever told. That's not just sport anymore, that's something bigger. And now, the 2 men I've been making you wait for. Cristiano Ronaldo, Portugal, 41 years old, his 6th and final World Cup. Let the numbers land. 143 international goals, the most any man has ever scored for his country. 226 caps, also a record. If he scores this summer, he becomes the first player in history to score at 6 different World Cups. And he is still chasing a number that has never existed in football, 1,000 career goals. He's more than 24 away, and at 41, that's a mountain he may never climb. But the one trophy missing from the most decorated career the game has ever seen is this one. He's never won the World Cup. Portugal are good enough to go deep, and he knows the clock isn't just ticking. It's nearly done. One of the 2 greatest of all time taking his final bow, which leaves the other one. The man I promised you at the very beginning. Lionel Messi, Argentina, the defending champion. And the answer to the question I opened with. Here's that question again. In 64 years, no country has won the World Cup and then won the next one. Not Brazil, not Germany, not Spain. The last team to do it was Brazil in 1962, before the moon landing. The defending champion always falls. Messi is 38. He turns 39 during this tournament. It's his 6th World Cup. a record he'll share only with Ronaldo. He's played more World Cup minutes and more World Cup matches than any human alive. He has scored over 110 goals for Argentina. He has, by any honest measure, already settled the argument about the greatest player who ever lived. So this isn't about proving anything anymore. It's about one final, almost impossible thing: doing what no team has done in 64 years. If Argentina defend this trophy, Messi doesn't just win another World Cup. He breaks a curse older than almost everyone watching this. That's the whole tournament, in one man. The greatest ever, 38 years old, chasing the one piece of history no one has touched since 1962. So there's the answer I promised you at the very start. Messi, 38, defending champion, the one man with a shot at breaking a 64-year curse that has beaten every champion before him. Whether he does it, you get to watch live over the next 40 days on the biggest stage this sport has ever built. 15 players, 2 of them saying goodbye, a teenager not old enough to remember the last decade of football, a refugee leading a host nation, a striker who waited his whole life just to watch his country play. I'm breaking down every twist of this World Cup as it happens, the upsets, the collisions, the goodbyes. If you want to be there for it, you know what to do. Now tell me one thing in the comments. Who are you watching? Yamal at 18 or Messi at 38?